Hello shoemakers, you're welcome back. This video is how to make a Bellow Tongue derby boot. We were going to make a Chelsea boot, but one of the members of the channel requested for a Bellow Tongue derby boot. You see that I modified this beautiful lat so that I can use it for boots. I was going to make the Chelsea boot like I said, but when a member requests a video, we comply. The members are the people who fund all of the free videos that you've been seeing. So if you're not a member, consider joining the membership plan on Bomber Bespoke. The links are in the description. So first things first, we will trace out the mean form of the last. See that last you're seeing in front there, this is the mean form. We use that mean form in designing the Chelsea boot pattern that you saw. So we basically just traced out the mean form from the Chelsea boot pattern again, and we're going to use it to design our derby boot, and then we will make the tongue of that derby boot bellows. My bias is towards dress boots, but bellow tongues tend to be incorporated in work boots, but a member requested for it, so let's do that. The heel height, you saw that I measured the heel height of the boot. So the heel height is about 2.5 cm. So we place the heel of the mean form on 2.5 cm on a vertical line, and then the ball on the horizontal line, and trace in the mean form. Next, we are going to measure the distance between the heel and the instep. So that distance is about 18 cm, and then we will draw a line parallel to the heel and the ball from the instep. So this line is parallel. So this line that we are drawing like this is parallel to the heel and the ball. Then we measure half the distance from the heel to the instep. You know it was 18 cm, so half of it is 9 cm. We mark it on that new line. Then we draw a right angle from the baseline to pass through that point on that new parallel line that we just drew. This line is the line on which we are going to measure the height of our boot. So let's keep the same height that we are using for the Chelsea boot. It's about 14 cm. Mark 14 cm on that line, and then the front of our boot will just start from about 50 mm away from the instep. Draw a right angle from the baseline from that point, and you can basically curve from the center line to that front line and have the front line of your boot. Everything we have done in previous classes, this is just a refresher. So the top line of our boot can be gotten in two ways. We can basically reference it from our last, in which case we'll draw right angles, perpendicular lines from either the counterpoint or the back height, and where it meets that line, a line right angle to the height of the boot will become our top line. In which case, you see, that is what we have done here. So that is our top line. But this can be problematic, especially when you have people whose calves are wider than what is referenced on the last. So I want you to take note of what has happened here. So from here, this is the instep. This is about 50 mm beyond the instep on the same line that is parallel to the heel and the ball. So this is the heel, this is the ball. This line is like so, and this line here, this one, is parallel to this line. Remember, so it was from this line, on this line that we got this point, that we marked this. So we said on this same line, this is a very important line. This is a very important line. So on this same line, we mark in 50 mm from the instep, and then you can do either of two things. You can draw a right angle from the baseline. You can draw a right angle from the baseline from that point going up and use that as the front line of your boot. Or you could decide to move it forward a little bit, especially if you have the calf of your wearer. You measure the calf of your wearer and you find that the distance from here, which is if you did this like so, and then you draw another line from the counterpoint, right angle to the baseline, and this, if you join this line and you find that the distances it makes is such that it is significantly shorter than the calf girt of your wearer, that means the circumference. Let's say this is the calf, this is the shin of your wearer, and you take the measurement around the circumference like so, and you find that that distance In the case of the wearer of this shoe, it came to 30 cm. 30 cm. So you'd have to represent half of that distance. But you see the half of the distance here. This is 1. So this is 13. So this came to about 13 and a half cm. So I have a 1.5 cm shortfall. I can use this the way it is. A 1.5 cm shortfall isn't much because this is a derby. It's going to have laces, and those laces are going to open, so it would accommodate that 1.5 cm will be accommodated in with what the laces are doing, right? The laces will open and close, so you have enough space. You have more than 2 cm of space with the opening and closing of the laces. However, if you are making something like a zip-up boot, you have to accommodate the calf girth. In another video, which is a members-only video, I will discuss, the things you need to do about calf girths. You can see that I have made another one here. You see this one where I have extended it quite considerably to account for the calf girth, which is because I'm going to put a zipper here, just so that when you have zippers or elastics, you want to really accommodate your calf girth very well, so that it's not very tight on the calf of the wearer. But this one we will. So we said there was a shortfall of 1.5 cm. Just to be safe, I added an extra 0.5 cm. So we ultimately came to around 14. Just shy of 14 cm, meaning that only 1 cm, the laces are only going to be doing serious work to compensate for 1 cm, and that's considerably okay. So I'm comfortable with this blank boot pattern, so let's just go ahead and design the derby. Are we good? So let's start. To design our derby, like always, we take the distance of our vamp line. So from here to there, this is exactly 8 cm. The middle of it will be 4 cm, so we mark the middle. Let's use pencil from here on in so that things are easier to clean up. So we draw our waterline from the counterpoint to that middle waterline, right? And then if we take a measurement of the waterline, it's just shy of 20 cm. So half of the distance will just be shy of 10 cm. So let's mark that here. So this is the middle of our waterline. In our design project for derbies, we mentioned that you draw a line from the instep to the middle of the waterline. And depending on how the ankle joint of your wearer is, you can either use your waterline or you can use your top line. So the top line will be this line that runs from the back height but stops at this line. I coined a term for this line, which is the tongue line. So from the back height to the tongue line, of course, it's not arbitrarily angled. It is angled such that it goes from the back height coming to the middle of the vamp line, but then you stop here. So you see that it was angled to this point here. The reference is from here to there, but it doesn't go all the way. It just stops here, so that this curving this like so will be the opening of our shoe, right? So we said the last length of this last is 32 cm. 32 cm. This 30 cm here was for the calf girth, which was why we were looking for 15 cm. Last length of this last that we're using is 32 cm. So the width of our tongue should be, we said our rule of quarters is that everything lying along the last should be 1/4 of the last length, and everything lying across will be 1/8 of the last length. That means this tongue is lying across the last, and that should be 1/8 of the last length. So 1/4 of 32, 1/4 of 32 is 8, and 1/8 of 32 will therefore be 4. That means the width of our tongue will be 4 cm. So on this tongue line, we will mark 4 cm. So if we were basically constructing our derby, we could have done our tongue like so. If it was an ordinary derby shoe, we would have done our tongue like so, and put 1 cm beneath the middle of the waterline and run a line to meet it, like so. Of course, this is already a loafers, and we could around the middle. So this is the middle of our, so this is about 10. So around the middle thereof, about 5, we can curve this in like this. So this is basically the tongue of our, well, it's looking like a loafers now, but let's convert it to a derby, right? So the first thing we do is, this is our vamp line. So the quarter of the derby can actually start from the vamp line, especially since last length is 32. This is a very well made last. I love this last. Everything just seems to be falling into place. Very well made last. So the last length is 32 cm, and the vamp line is exactly 8 cm, which means that we can actually start the quarter of our last. So this is 4 cm. We said everything lying across is 4 cm. So this one here can be the beginning of our quarter. And then since everything lying along the last should be 8 cm, we can actually measure 8 cm on this line. Now I could do either of two things. I could curve the elbow of my quarter from here to here, and that would actually be very fine. But you see that I typically like to avoid very short distances between. If this was a derby shoe, I typically like to have the distance between the top line and the elbow of my derby to be at least 3 cm, and this violates that rule. So I won't do this. Rather, I will come to this middle point on the derby and draw a right angle. So reference to the quarter line. So this is the quarter line, a right angle right here. So what I did was, so this is the point that I'm referencing. It's not exactly on this point, it's actually moving in a little bit further, but that's not a problem. It's on the quarter, it will still look nice. So let's highlight the lines as we have them already. So this is the elbow of our derby. Remember that this top line isn't here. It's not a shoe, it's a boot. So let's clean out this top line so that it doesn't start looking cluttered and confusing. So clean up, but the main point we have to note is that this is our tongue line and this is the width. Right here is the width of our tongue, right? Good. So we can basically, so this is the front of our boot. I think right now that we've made the, I wanted to clean out this line, but I think we can still use it, right? We could design this boot such that it closes 360 degrees. It closes right at the center of the shin of the wearer. But we could do something else. We could, angle it such that it doesn't really close. It's, exposes some of the tongue. Some of the tongue is visible to the outside world. The tongue is not completely encased. If that is the case, we can still use this. So this becomes the line of our tongue and this becomes the line of our quarter. I think we can work with that. In that case, it means that we are going to draw a line parallel from here, just shy of our vamp line to there. So this therefore becomes the line of our quarter, and then this becomes the line of our tongue. Pretty good stuff. So let's finish off the tongue. We said the width of our tongue is 4 cm, and it's 4 cm from there. The whole point is that if it starts from here, it's about 4.5 cm. I think I prefer to use this. And basically, all I need to do is to connect these two lines. Because I don't like to see lines, I would prefer curves. I can just curve this so that it imitates this. And then the top of our boots can just extend a little bit and we'll have that. You can also curve this. So let's highlight that with a pen. In the long time, derbies. But derbies are some of the most important shoes to learn how to make, especially color. So this. Good. So this is the tongue of our derby boot. This is the waterline. This, of course, is the elbow for our quarter. And finish off like this. Everything check. All that means is, like I said, this is the front of the boot. Right angle to the baseline. This is the other front. So you see that we have a protrusion of the, so there's 8.5 cm of the tongue which will slide in, and being that we are making a bellow, I think this will give us the space to curve the bellow of the tongue. So I guess we are done here. All that remains is, this is a derby, this will stay at right angle. Let's highlight the width of our derby. This should stay at right angle, but we can curve here like so. Let's trace that first with a pencil. And then we can curve it in. We can highlight it further with a pen. The very reason I started using mathematical methods to design my patterns is because I'm not very good with tracing. So I think we're done. This, don't confuse anything. This is the front line of our boot. And this is our tongue. So it is from here. Okay, we can also curve here for design. Shouldn't just be, we can curve in here, like some more subtle curve. This should do. So this is the front of our boot. If you want, you can add that strap here, not really necessary. So this is our boot. So if we think of our top line, sorry, our eyelets will just be spaced about 1.2 cm from the front line of the boot. That will be here. And the terminal point will be somewhere 1.2 cm. That will be there. So all you need to do is, if you're Nigerian, you know what happened when everything went grey. But let's leave it at that. We are at the point of talking about our eyelets. Our eyelets are spaced 1.2 cm away from the front line, and then 1.2 cm again away from each other. Basically, so we have classic eyelets, 10 eyelets on the boot of this Van ankle boot of this height, and then 5 eyelets if it was just a shoe. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, if it was a shoe, our top line would have gone this way, so we would have stopped somewhere here. But we continue this one in the middle, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 classic eyelets on this boot. So what are we going to do? Remember, what we are trying to make is a bellow, meaning that we will have it will fold. If you've noticed, I've done two things. I've highlighted this line, this tongue line that comes from the instep to this point. So let's leave it there. I actually referenced it back because of the way that I want to divide the tongue of this boot. But you know, one of the things why I like derbies is that once you finish designing the pattern, everything else is easy, pattern wise, or everything else is easy, both for the lining and for the uppers. So you see that from what we have here, it's just a 2-piece or maybe 3-piece because this is 2. But for the pattern, we only need to cut out 2 pieces. The first is this quarter that goes like so. And then the second will be the vamp itself that goes all the way like so. Those are all the only 2 pieces we need to cut out as per this pattern. Of course, we could add a strip at the back here to cover the seam line that we're going to have at the back, but that's not really a problem. So the main 2 patterns will be the quarter and the vamp. However, in this case, it's a boot. If it was a shoe, this will only be the vamp. The way I want to spring the vamp of this boot is the reason I have kept this here. So I will have a joint between, so I can really spring this vamp as though I was doing a derby shoe and just figure out a way to duplicate this. And this is almost on a straight line really, so I can just basically figure out a way to duplicate this other part and then add a stitching allowance somewhere here and stitch this part on. And it is on this same part that I can add the bellow, right? The bellow of our boots. So it's on this part like so that the part that is going to correspond to the bellow, that is going to fold in this way and attach to this very point, it is on this part of the boot that it will be. So this part will just be practically part of the vamp, and then this part will be will have the reference. I'm not saying this is the pattern of that bellow, I just wanted to put it there so that we know that it is there and we are going to have to create it. Capish? So let's first of all go ahead and cut out this quarter and know that we don't have any problems with it. So give me remember that this is the front of our boot, not this. So if we use this, that's actually the soft level of volume. The points are the edge, so that we know from where we begin to add our, so this is also the point, and then also the markers. Don't forget, add the eyelets. I'll just split out and show you what ends up. So you can see that this is the pattern for the quarters. You will notice that I have added lasting allowance and I've added folding allowances at the top. I've even created, you know, tracing channels for this line, just in case we need to sew on a design line on the boot itself. Make a decision on that later on. But this is stuff. I've also added the eyelet, so this is done. With that out of the way, I guess we have to now figure out what to do with the vamp. So we've cut out that part. Like we said, we'll add stitching allowance there. So you see that this is basically, in fact, if we did this, this would have been a loafers, right? So let's keep it like it is a loafers. Let's pretend like it's a loafers and use that to spring this. So which means that all of this parts are not needed. Adjust this a little bit. So this. So basically use, let's not forget that this, how did it even slide? Yeah, so this is what it will ultimately look like at the end of the day. This. Oh no. This is what it ultimately looks like at the end of the day. Then we can of course add our bellow areas here. But let's bring this. To spring it, you know, our Mikhail Blaskivka's method. I think Mikhail himself will be surprised that I'm calling this his method, because, you know, well, he's the one who popularized it for me, and I'm grateful to him. So from this, spread it open by about 5 mm. We'll spread it open by about 5 mm and secure it. Let me find a sellotape to secure it. Give me a minute. So this is spread out. So that I don't have to do the work twice, let me take something that is already duplicated. So this is the tip of the last. Oh yeah, before we do that, this is the point. See, this is the quarter line, and this is the angle where it intersects with the quarter line. This point here. So we will, before we do anything, draw a right angle to the quarter line, of course, from that point, right? And extend the point to the tongue. Extend the line, this line, to the tongue. To this point, which means that this will be our first point, and the tip of the last will be the second point. And then we can draw everything from this point. Everything. Let me use my awl. I hope it's visible. Use my awl to marking all of these points. Of course, until we get to this point. Then using this point as our pivot, we pivot back until we get this point here. Right. Then we can draw the rest. So this is our line, which of course I need going to have it somewhere there. Of course I have my 2 cm glass lines all the way through. I will use the white I'm going to use the before any patch sticking around here. Something that I neglected to do at the time we were springing. Remember, this is how we sprung. So we use this point, and that point, this point. So this point was here, and that point was there, right? And we drew in everything, and then using this point as our pivot, we brought this. Sorry. This was our springing procedure. And using this point as our pivot, we brought in that there. So one very important thing that I forgot to add was this point here. This point. So this is the point where the water slots into the van. So needed to have marked that point right there for accuracy. Then we can just indicate it by cutting in a notch on the van itself. And then cut in all of the tracing channels. So our water will probably slot in like so. Slot in like so. This will be our water. And all that remains is the rest, this, which we will find a way of put it in. So let's do that next. So how did we go from this? I hope you remember that this, where's that guy? Yeah. This guy came out of this guy like this, right? So how did we go from this guy to this guy? And then we are ultimately going to this guy. So let's show you how we did it. Now there's an easy way of duplicating things like this. You basically need to take a measurement of the entire length of this front part of it. So if you see from here to around here is 4 cm, as you can see, then the remainder of it is 0.5 cm. So the entire length of this curve here is 4.5 cm. What you can do is maybe say this is your starting point. So this point, if you take that to be your starting point, and you basically just mark in, this is 4, this is 4, this is 4.5. So this is going to be the entire length of the thing. So 4.5, right? So 4.5 there. So let's say we start this. So basically if you put the start point, just try to, for things like this that are not so, try the most that you can where most of the line is on the center line. It may need you to move the starting point a little bit upward, but everything should fall within that 4.5 cm mark. Light just went off. Then we can just mark in this and mark that in. So you see that we have this and that. So we can basically, before we cut off, we add, of course, our stitching allowance and cut this. So this is the terminal point, that is the middle. I can add my tracing channel in here, and I have this part. So this would have been what it would look like if we weren't constructing a bellow, but we need to make a bellow. So how do we transform this into the bellow tongue? So how do we convert this to that? You can see how easy it is. You can immediately begin to imagine what you need to do. All I did, in my case, this is how I did it. I basically trace out this entire thing. Of course, marking the center, marking the tracing channels, all of that. So this is the center, that is the center, right? I connect this to, just to indicate my center line for myself. And all I did was to come here, extend this to this point, but maybe just add a few cm, extend that to that point, add that, and come here, extend that to the middle there, add that, right? Now, I have to account for the fold, because it's leather, it's not going to fold like it is. So maybe add about 2 mm for the fold, which means that this will ultimately be this. So this will stop here instead of there. And then if I add, all I need to do is to add it on one side and I can actually fold. So I'm now sure that this extends to there. Sorry, this extends to there. And if I fold along the middle, I can cut this entire thing. Now, I don't need this. This side is represented. This whole thing is representative of the stitching allowance. I don't need the stitching allowance on this side, so I can actually cut from here. And this goes. Then I can cut in my stitching allowance. Sorry, my tracing channel and the middle, and then indicate where it folds. So this becomes our bellow tongue as we had it. So this is a mock-up of the shoe. You can see that, say for some, so this is the bellow tongue, right? Of course. So, but you have to, I'm really happy the way the tongue came out. Everything just went according to pattern. You saw that place that protruded and then came right onto, so after it was lasted, you saw that everything just aligned. So this is a mock-up, a very rough mock-up, because you understand that this, by the time you put holes here and then the laces go across, it will bend this guy over like this and attempt to cover it in a way. Maybe I have to reduce the amount of material around here, but other than that, and then also I think I cut too deeply into the vamp beyond this point. I shouldn't do that in the real shoe, but it's good proof of concept. Looks like it works. So in the next video we probably will do the main shoe and show you what it looks like. But for the gentleman who asked for Bellow Tongue, this is how I attempted it. Try yours and see if it works.